Hello, this is Nagendra Bish. I'm a book YouTuber. I create content around books and review books that I like and which are closer to my heart. Some are bestsellers and some books are just unputdownable. And today I have taken this unusual task of reviewing book at an outside place like this. And I hope you like this adventure and enjoy the review that's about to come. As you can see, I've come outside and I'm exploring unusual places, or should I say interesting places to read books. Sitting in this place and watching the city go by, let me read out a page of this particular book aloud to you, which I'm going to tell you about in a few seconds. As she spoke, Mrs. Elm's eye came alive, twinkling like puddles in moonlight. Between life and death, there is a library, she said, and within that library, the shelves go on forever. Every book provides a chance to try another life you could have lived, to see how things would be different if you had made other choices. Would you have done anything different if you had the chance to undo your regrets? These lines and some of these lines of this book, which is Midnight Library by Matt Haig, is an interesting choice. People go to places in a matter of minutes, sometimes hours, and if the place is really far, sometimes in days. But I go to places in a matter of few minutes or sometimes seconds. The answer is obvious. It's through books. And today's book, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, is one such book where the principal character of the book, Nora Seed, travels between from one life to another life in no time. And this is what makes this book, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, an interesting read. So that's the interesting part. She gets to live a life where the time stands still. Now, these lives that she is leading, she regretted in her root life that she could have lived or wanted to live. Midnight Library is a page turner. I've never heard of this writer before, which is a surprise because it is a popular book on Instagram and various other social media channels. But I bought this book on impulse. But after reading this first book of this writer, I found it an interesting read. It definitely is worth reading at least once. My first thoughts. Anyone who is going through an existential crisis or is in one should read this book. Midnight Library is widely imaginative in its plot, where Nora Seed, the principal character, moves from one life to another in a matter of no time with the help of Midnight Library, where the time stands still. Matt Haig's prose is to the point, lyrical, and strikes a fine balance between boring and brilliant. I was at times stuck in the initial phases where I could not really relate to the plot, but as I progressed further and as I read the pages, I could understand what he was trying to tell. When I started reading this book, after a few pages, I've had this feeling that this is one of those self-motivating book that talks about not giving up in life. As I started losing interest is when the plot began to pick up. After a few pages, enters Mrs. Elm, the librarian, who introduces Nora Seed to the Midnight Library. And that's when things become interesting. Now, how can Nora Seed, reach the Midnight Library? You'll have to read this book to understand it. But when she enters Midnight Library, she finds Mrs. Elm there, and she says to her, between life and death, there is a library, and the shelves go on forever. Now, what happened to Nora Seed is something which you will know when you read the book. She explains to her, while the Midnight Library stands, Nora, you will be preserved from death. Now you have to decide how you want to live. These lines on page 30 of this book that I'm currently holding in my hand is where you get an idea as a reader as to what you will be expecting in the pages to follow. This book is about 288 pages long, the one that I'm holding in my hand, and we are on page 30 right now. Now, this is where Matt Haig's writing makes it really interesting, and at least for me, it became really interesting, which I was not expecting. So, this was the review that we shot outside, vlogging style, and I hope you will like the remaining part, which will be shot in the studio. So, guys, I'm back to my studio again. Let's start and complete the review of the remaining book. I think each time Nora C travels from one life to another, a different perspective opens for the reader, and that's where Matt Haig succeeds. As a writer, I feel that you are triumphant when the reader surrenders into your well-crafted plot, knowing that he's going in for an interesting story. And I think that's where Matt Haig's writing was to the point. Don't we ask ourselves these questions every day? Like, if I had done masters, I could have ended with different prospects, or if I could have said hi to a sibling who passed away a while ago, or if I had started my business at the right time without worrying about the debts and interest which I might incur. I mean, these thoughts, when they come into your head, they worry us, they trouble us, and in the end, they overwhelm us with the feeling that we have not really achieved what we wanted to achieve in life. And sometimes they make us what we have become today. In Matt Haig's story, though, these questions are not left unanswered, as Nora Seed travels from one life to another, and she gets the answer to those questions that she had, the regrets that she had, that she could not become what she really wanted to become, in her root life, as he puts it. But does she get all the answers that she was looking for, minus all the regrets that she had in her root life? Does she lead an ideal life when she, jumps into a life that was perfect for her? Now, in order to get answer to those questions, you need to read this wonderful book by Matt Haig. My verdict is a resounding yes. You should pick this book if you're someone who's, looking for some serious answers from life, is in love, and like to dwell in their past. And probably every one of us will fall in this category, and everyone should be reading this book. If you like books that are soul-searching, philosophical, and full of twists and turns, then you will definitely like Matt Haig's Midnight Library. Now, let me tell you some of the things that I liked about this book. In particular, most of the book that has been told is told through the voice of Nora Seed, the female character of the book, who is the principal character, and all of the characters which are surrounding her, the supporting characters, also echo her life or echo her viewpoint. So much so that you feel that it is feminine voice that's speaking out to you. But had there been a male principal character, Matt Haig would have treated him no different. And that's why I think this book is really wonderful. Another fact that I liked about this book was Nora Seed loves reading book. Her favorite writer is philosopher Henry David Thoreau, and in her root real life, her cat's name is Voltaire. And in one of the life that she lives, which is, I think, at the end of the book, her pet name is again Plato. So this is a wonderful thought by the writer Matt Haig, who's talked about so many writers in the book. And a surprise, there's also a mention of some Indian names: Mr. Banerjee, Jaya. Let me give you an exercise. Find out on which page or where did you find the name Jaya. It's just once or probably twice, and it will be hard to find. And there is a character called Ash. Now, is his name, what is his real name? That's not explored or diverged in the book, but I'm assuming he's an Indian. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What I also liked about this book was a very candid explanation by the writer through this character that we do not have to live our lives through other people's expectations. Now, who are these people? Everybody has a close set of people whom they consider important. They could be their parents, their spouses, or their siblings, and in some cases their friends. We tend to believe what they think is right for us, And most often than not, if we get disappointed in life, we point fingers at them rather than thinking what is good for us. So, in a way, this book gives us a message in a very subtle sense, through the lives of Nora Seed, that we shouldn't be believing in other people's expectation but our own, as to how we should live our lives through our own requirements and what is available to us. And if we do that, we will live a more contented and happy life. Now, one of the point that I really like about this book was that it stressed on mental health. Now, through the story, he's clearly depicted that why Nora Seed takes that extreme step of taking her life, and because she's not well mentally, she's depressed most of the time, despite the fact that she's so talented. It kind of relates with each one of our lives too. And it's such an important thing. It emphasizes on the desire of being wanted by a close set of people, loved, cared for. So if we have those feelings within us, if we are still loved by people around us, if people care for us, that's more important than succeeding in life or becoming really big and successful in life. So we miss out on those important aspects too. The aspect of family, the aspect of loved ones near you who are, encouraging you to be happy and content, or probably you become happy and content by looking at them, by living with them. And that's a happy life. What I didn't like about this book was a sense of involvement was there, but at times it was not there. I'll be very honest with you. I felt for the character. I was sad that this girl who's all of 35 wants to die and take a life because there's nothing left in her life, but I couldn't cry with her. Matt Haig's prose is to the point, so much so that, apart from Nora Seed, he hasn't been able to explain the supporting character or the different nuances of supporting characters in a detailed manner. It's a very short book. It's a short book. It's about 288 pages long. But I felt that there was something lacking that I couldn't really grasp and I couldn't really figure out. Probably Matt Haig has given us a glimpse of lots of lives of Nora Seed, and he spent most of the words explaining those lives that he couldn't, that he was not able to explain the other characters that well. Apart from these shortcomings, I think this book is a one-time read, and some people will love the idea of exploring different lives. Won't you? If I had a chance to jump and become whatever I wanted to become in life, I would want that midnight library. And I think you should also look for this book in your nearest bookstore or order from Amazon, wherever you can. Grab this copy and read this wonderful book by Matt Haig. If you like this review, do like, share and subscribe to this video, and comment below in the section as to what do you think about this review. Have you read this book? And if you haven't, then please do. Thank you.